Hey, you summoned a lesser maker. Today, we're going to assemble and paint this Mordheim terrain with nothing but dollar store paint. This is the paint I usually use for the stuff I scratch build, and I've always been kind of hesitant on painting the terrain from Games Workshop with this stuff because maybe it won't do it justice. In the end, we'll do it together and you can judge for yourself. I've had this Warcry Red Harvest set for 1.5 years, and that makes it the longest resident in my pile of shame, and I'm really happy to finally get rid of this. If you don't know, I'm in the midst of making a giant Mordheim board called the Mordheim CATACOMBS, and this is going to be the centerpiece for that board. Everything is going to be kind of built around this. So I wanted something that would be kind of modular. I've never really done that in Mordheim boards, so having a set like this is going to be really helpful, and I'm really looking forward to assembling plastic terrain for the first time. Typically I scratch build everything and I 3D model things so I can 3D print stuff. I've always been kind of curious like how my stuff kind of matches up with this official GW stuff. After assembling a couple of these, it kind of sucked a lot of the joy out of terrain building for me. I didn't have any creative choices when assembling this kit, and a lot of it was really repetitive. I think it might be because I'm kind of ADD and I like to kind of switch things up to keep my mind interested. So maybe this isn't for everyone, but having a kind of dull task, it just feels like work. And I'd rather be imagining what to do next and thinking of the next several steps that I'm going to be doing. There were 2 scaffoldings that were exact copies of each other, and I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity. If I were to scratch build scaffolding, none of it would be the same. Now that I have this assembled, I want to just state that I didn't assemble all of it because I kind of think I might want to use it as details. The real question is, will this pale in comparison to these kits? I paint everything with Dollar Tree paint. It's called Acryology. I use a fan brush almost exclusively because it holds a lot of paint. They're super easy to clean because the bristles are just splayed out so much. You can paint a lot of surface area, and it's almost perfect for dry brushing. So for this project, I completely forgot I was out of black spray paint, and so I kind of did this in hard mode. I really should have gone out and got some. It makes it so much easier to use Dollar Tree paint, but I think it's a testament to the paint that it really goes a long way even over this white base coat. There's just so much surface area and hidden cracks with this terrain set that it would have helped so much to be able to just have that be in the shadow and not have to paint the undersides of things that would never be seen. But unfortunately I did have to end up doing that. So I'm adding a highlight now, and I'm using that brown and a yellow oxide with like just a spot of black, and the black is just kind of a unifying color that I'm using everywhere. I'm using this highlight over just to accentuate wood grain and to hit any spots that the white was still poking through a bit. And I kind of, whenever I saw a white spot, I just covered it with whatever color I was painting with. And that was the easiest way of doing it for me. I do this a lot with terrain building, where I let the material kind of dictate how I build something. Like if there's a white spot there, in my mind, the piece is telling me the color that's on my brush is the color it wants in that spot. And I know that doesn't make much sense, but having rules like this while you're building something helps you kind of add a bit more randomness to things. Like if you run out of shingles, there's going to be a gap in that spot or whatever. Something to keep in mind while you're painting with cheaper paint is that oftentimes while a paint is drying, the color will change a bit. And when you're dry brushing something with a lighter color, it will be darker than you expect. So go a little lighter than you would think, and it will add a bit more contrast. I'm done with the wood now. I'm going to start painting the metallic areas. I'm going to try to mix up some paints and we'll see how it goes. So the contrast I'm getting from these paints that I have aren't that great, so I'm gonna try, if I'm gonna spend all this time adding these little details, I want those details to actually show. Because this is such a slight difference, it's almost not even worth it. I might as well just leave it the same color. So I'm gonna try to find another metallic paint in here, but I don't have any more dollar store paint. So this technically isn't dollar store paint, but I have had it since I was in elementary school. I remember painting a California Mission bell with this paint. I think if it's more than 15 years old, it probably still qualifies. All right, so I found an apple barrel paint. It's not a Dollar Tree paint, but maybe I can bend the rules this one time. I think if I go for an oxidized green, like brass color, kind of like what I do with my roofs, that might give me a better look. So it's just not what I pictured, but still had like enough metallic in there to make it interesting. Like blackened, like blacksmith metal. So I just mixed some black with my gold. That let the metallic flakes really have a nice solid black background to reflect off of. And that's much more what I'm looking for. So I will, I might actually just kind of use a mixture of all three of these paints just to kind of add a bit of variety. Yeah, so I just add a little green here. Hey, yeah, that looks good. Okay, so this is the game plan. I'm just gonna kind of mix all this paint everywhere, and just hopefully that ends up looking pretty good. So I had a gray mixed with my gold, and then I had black which mixed with my gold. That was kind of like the mid-tone, and then anything that was lower facing or on the lower half below the scaffolding areas, I used more of that oxidized green. So that was just basically a green mixed with my gold. And whenever I hit a metallic area that was vertical, I started with a silver, black gold, and then ended with a oxidized color at the very bottom. And I feel like that just added a nice variety. Let me know what you guys think, how this ended up. I think this added a bit more contrast. And then again, whenever I saw a white spot anywhere, I always used that oxidized green and just kind of wiped it in there, and it kind of made it look a little more mossy, but in my mind it's oxidization that's kind of run off into that area. So just
that added bit of randomness and of color really kind of helps some certain parts pop a little differently than expected. While I have you here, I'd just like to thank you for watching. Please like and comment on the video because it goes such a long way to help my small YouTube channel reach new people. And we just hit 2,500 subs, which is still crazy to me. So thank you so much for subscribing and being a part of this community. If you didn't know, I do have a Discord server that is free. Go there, show me what you're building, and if you need any help, I'm more than happy to give you some input. Such a great group of people over there. If you don't know, Patreon is only $2 a month, and that goes a long way to support the channel. And I'd just like to thank my Patreon members real quick. So thank you to Leroy, Feder, Caracal, Old School FRP, Burning Heart Custom Creations, James, Anders, Hanover, Grin Drunk, Treborius, Andy, Eric, Corey, Mark, Nick, The Lich's Laboratory, Cabu, The Pessimist, Seb, and Lori. Thank you guys so much. They get early access to the files I'm currently developing for the new Mordheim board. I really appreciate them supporting the channel. If Patreon really isn't your thing, I do have merchandise where I design Mordheim adjacent shirts and stuff. I really just design things that I'd like to wear. You can go over there and support the channel in that way too, and you get something physical out of it. Back to the video. Let me know what you guys think about this terrain. I think it turned out pretty good. It is perfectly serviceable, and it really lets the miniatures kind of sing. Even though the building experience isn't as great, I can't really argue with the results. I kind of have a feeling that if I didn't tell you this was Dollar Tree paint, you wouldn't really know the difference. So I hope this encourages you, go out there and just tackle a project, get it done. Finishing projects is a skill that you need to practice, and if you don't ever finish anything, you'll never know how good something you make can look. If you were curious what this monster back here is, my son turned my Zealot into a Tzeentch horror with his Chaos Marauder spellcaster. That was a crazy moment, and I just thought I'd share it with you. All right, have a good one.